Hi y'all. Um, Welcome to World Vision, where we will focus on life things as well as God things. And I would put this story up yesterday because they had me teach Sunday school at church, and we were talking about the cleansing of the temple. And I was really like, I'm so excited about it because the cleansing of the temple, when Jesus really flipped the tables, I don't even really call it the cleansing of the temple. I call it when Jesus flipped tables. The cleansing of the temple is my favorite day of Holy Week, but it's also one of my most favorite moments of Jesus's life. And it's one of my most favorite moments because this is where you really see him truly be half God and half human. Because as humans, the world around us does get small in a sense. So when we get frustrated because things are getting small around us, and we can just kind of look around just as Jesus did and be observant, but get angry in a sense too. It's a thing. But the lesson scripture really came from, and I'll note it where it came from. It came from John, the second chapter, the 13th through the 25th verses. But the two focus, the two verses that I would really focus on are the 15th and 16th verses. And I'm going to read them out of the NRSV UE version. Just for context, when we do they like see this, because I do external research outside of the lesson as well. Jesus was walking into the market at Passover time. This is Passover for context. And he's just observing all of the money changers and all of the people that are selling things like sacrificial animals and such of that nature. And at this time of at this time in the Bible, it is when it's towards Jesus's last days, and he knows it's his last days. And it's really like the Pharisees. The Pharisees did not like Jesus, but it's the Pharisees versus Jesus. And because of this moment, the Romans try to come into play with the Pharisees against Jesus. So it's like 2-on-1. They was trying to gang up on Jesus. So he is observing all of these things in the marketplace, like I said. And a woman was behind him trying to take food to the market and said that the church was a shortcut. So that kind of irritated Jesus too. So it's kind of like all these little buildup of things. And it's like, okay. And I'm looking at my notes at the same time at the lesson. But he looked and really like took in everything that he said. And a lot of people notice or not even realize that Jesus was very calm, cool, and collected, and he was very human. But even though he knew the hearts of everybody, he always gave them the benefit of the doubt. But this moment, Jesus had a human moment, and so which says, making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple. With the sheep and the cattle, he poured out the coins of money changers and overturned the tables. He told those who were selling doves, take these things out of here. Stop making my father's house a marketplace. Jesus, in this moment, Jesus got frustrated because a lot of our friends really say, like, okay, you're really sensitive about that. But if you knew Jesus, Jesus was always about God's business, because he said that in Matthew, when he was in the temple, he was like, am I not supposed to be about my father's business? He was standing on business about God. And I think that's great business to stand on. But our lesson yesterday talked about Jesus having a passionate reaction to the disrespect of his father's temple. Because if you don't know, then I'm going to tell you today that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all tell the same story from 4 different views. So it's like 4 biographies in one. But the part of Matthew that correlates to this one section in John is Matthew 21. I'll note it somewhere on the screen, but this actually in Matthew quotes him saying that this is a house of prayer and a house of worship, and you've turned it to a den of thieves. So when Jesus let them animals out and he flipped the tables of the money changers and of the market sellers and everything that were selling the sacrificial animals, he crashed out. And I don't even want to say crashed out. It's he had so much love for God that he wasn't about to let them play up in his face. So if that's the better way I had to put it, he wasn't going to let them play up in his face. So because Jesus had so much passion for God and the purpose of the church and everything in it, it's kind of like you gonna let that man or that woman, that person, play up in your face not once but twice, and you not gonna say nothing about it. Like, I'm gonna thoughtfully think this out before I crash out where I can't come back. But if I crash out, it's okay, because at his core, Jesus had a purpose through his pain. Steve Harvey said it himself. When he's sometimes talking to people and he's very loud in a sense, people be like, "Why are you so loud? Why are you so loud?" No, baby, I'm passionate. And when you're passionate about something, your volume will be very up there because you standing so solid for something that you care about, that matters to you. So if I'm going to be passionate about me, I'm going to be loud. I am going to be an advocate for myself, because if nobody else is going to hear me, they're going to hear me. And being able to understand that once you've explained something to somebody in such a microscopic way, to the point where it can't be maneuvered anymore or broken down to past a molecular level, to say the least. But yeah, it can't be broken down past an atom, not even an atom, a neuron, an electron. But it can't be broken down anymore. And you've said it on more than one occasion. You are going to be frustrated. And it's kind of like you in between a rock and a hard place and you don't know which way to go. So you flip the table to find your way out. And in knowing that, and I am going to put up here, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it kind of correlates with the Psalm of David, Psalm 69, verse 9. And when you not crash out, but when you do flip a table on people, like, I am such an advocate on flipping tables. I try not, I've really decreased on how many tables I flip on a weekly basis, but I will say, like, if I'm gonna flip a table, baby, we gonna flip it, and we gonna flip it hard. And I think I flipped about 4 last week, but not saying that just flip tables for the fun of it. No, don't flip tables for the fun of it. Jesus had purpose of why he flipped the table, to remind people the purpose of the church and everything in it, but had to remind them how to keep their hearts and minds centered on God, which was the purpose of the church, rather than the people who were there just trying to make an income. and they were taking advantage of the people because at that time, like lambs were expensive. You had to have a sacrificial animal. You had to have a lamb, which meant one thing, or you had to have like a pigeon or a dove. And if you didn't really have a lot of money back then, you would get the pigeon as a sacrificial animal, because I believe that the lamb was an animal that was a rite for purification, but the doves and the pigeons were guilt offerings. And um, with everybody focused on just the amount of money or they could make just from Passover. Passover was like the Super Bowl of Israel. And at this moment, Jesus didn't really care what anybody else had to say about it. So if you're passionate about something and you are going to decide to flip a table, just know at your core, you are you're not changing yourself. You're not changing your values, not changing your standards. You might be completely frustrated in a sense. Yes, you are going to be completely frustrated, but you can't really think about what other people are going to say about you, because it doesn't matter if you do A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. You got 26 options. And it doesn't matter what option you pick, there's always going to be somebody to say something. So don't let your loyalty lie, or let the satisfaction of another lie with somebody else who has no control over you in the afterlife, who doesn't have control over your mind, heart, body, and spirit, because that's only God. You have to focus on the purpose of it. And at that moment, Jesus at his core was serving God despite what the Romans said, what the Pharisees said, because the Pharisees didn't like him. The Pharisees challenged him in everything that he did. But when Jesus flipped them tables, that was him fighting with his heart. And I am definitely going to reference this. I'm going to put a link somewhere. But Sarah Jakes Roberts has a sermon called Unlock Your Heart, because you don't have to really have the skills or the talent for anything, but you but you fought with your heart. And when fighting with your heart, it's a different breed. It's a different feeling, because you putting everything you got out there. And when you put everything that you got out there, it's all or nothing. You're doing it not caring for how anybody looks at you, or how anybody else feels about it. You kind of just doing it because it's all right, me and God in this and we cool with it. Like, the only thing that matters is God, and that's where my loyalty always gonna lie, with God, because I don't owe nobody else no loyalty down here. And that's on God himself. So it's definitely a good thing, because in all actuality, I listen notes that trust is the ability to trust, and having trust is a component of any relationship, whether it be professional or personal, romantic, or anything. And I know the word, not the word, but like the old saying used to be like, your word is your bond. And people don't really stuck on that no more, because it's kind of like you got to have the ability to communicate, know your limits, and know your boundaries and set your boundaries with people. And you really stand solid on the phrase of your word is your bond, then most people will look at you as desperate, but it's really you communicating and having the ability to advocate and um, be passionate about something, be honest, have integrity. And we, as the children of God, we literally, and then because of this, y'all know God was ruthless in the Old Testament. Like, he didn't care what he said to the Israelites. He meant what he said what he meant, and that's just that. He stood on business with it all. And it's like we have to strive to be like Jesus every day. And Jesus was the only perfect human that has ever walked this earth. But he showed us what it was to deal with pressure and be human in a sense. And I won't lie, like I ain't perfect either. Like there's a lot of things that I'm in the process of learning, fine tuning, developing, and so on and so forth. But this one moment in the Bible teaches me so much because God is half man and half, not God, I'm sorry. Jesus is half man and half God. But you have to remember, like, we can always be God's children, and our goal every day when we wake up is to strive to be like Jesus. But if it requires turning over the tables, baby, flip them tables. I flip the tables with purpose. I flip the tables with passion and even through pain, because I won't lie, like life for anybody isn't easy. Every day isn't going to be a happy-go-lucky day. Some days you're just gonna want to crawl up in your bed and kind of just sit under the covers and just not be outside and kind of just be in a moment with you and God, and not with other human, no human interaction at all. And I just, I think that being able to navigate as a human, God, Jesus really showed us this at a moment. And if it requires us flipping tables, then so be it. There are times when we are extremely passionate or excited of something, and that's what zeal means. If we have so much zeal for something that we are excited. So like the Super Bowl being won. What else we excited about? We excited for our birthdays, and we super excited. Like, girl, it's my birthday, and ain't nobody gonna do all of this. The Beyonce concert, because I love me a little Cowboy Carter. It's good. It's good, but every day is a reason to remember the true purpose. Like, despite what we may personally feel for somebody, we sometimes in moments have to put those personal feelings to the side for the bigger picture and just remain strong on our faith. Because God, first of all, God will never give us too much than what we can bear. But when it gets a little hard, and it's like, it's not the fact that we getting impatient, but it's like the fact that the frustration, and we gotta lift, either raise the roof or flip a table. And if flipping a table gets you an answer, I'm gonna tell you, flip a table. Like my friends know me. Holy Week day number 1 is my absolute favorite, because Jesus had an entirely human reaction to people not listening to him or the word of God that was laid out in the Old Testament. People were more focused on themselves than the actual purpose of Passover that Jesus had to remind them of. This is not a den, this is the house of prayer and worship. This is my Father's house, and you have turned it into a den of thieves. So, in closing, stick to your heart, number 1. Stick to your heart. And if you don't know what's in your heart, ask God what's in your heart, and I promise He'll show you. But when you stick what's in your heart, you stand on it, and you find ways to communicate these things without flipping the table, and you find different ways and methods of communication to really say these things. And when you do that, you kind of be patient in a sense, and that's the biggest thing that I'm working on. But once you figure all of those things out, you go ahead, and if you got to flip a table just to fight to be heard, or fight for justice, or just fight for Something that matters that nobody else is hearing. No, when you tired, you fight with your heart. You ask God for the right words to say. And if you gotta flip a table, baby, flip a table, but you remain your true self at your core. You remember your purpose. You stay rooted. Stand on business 10 toes solid with some black Willie B's on. One crease. One crease. And when it comes to you dealing with others, you put your personal feelings to the side for the bigger picture, which is just for the building of the kingdom and the edification of the word of God. So no, every day ain't gonna be easy, but we are human. We are all human. And that's where your grace and your forgiveness lies in it. And in that moment, you just kind of gotta be a little bit more you, but give yourself grace at the same time. And take a breather after you flip that table. Go get you something to eat. And go outside, take a nice walk, and just talk with God. I promise you, everything will be all right. Just give it time, and it'll all work itself out. I love y'all. I really do. This was actually my first video, and I think that I think I like this and being able to dissect and give y'all a quick synopsis of things going on in the Bible. Um, Please let me know if y'all would like more content like this. But I think for my first video, for it to be about Jesus flipping tables, it really shows and connects with me, and I hope it connects with you all too. Because we all human and we all are children of God, and we gonna make mistakes. We every day ain't gonna be perfect. Every day ain't gonna be this. Like social media is a highlight. Like it struggles every day, be. But it's um it's the ability to forgive others and forgive ourselves. So y'all go be blessed. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all week. And God is love, Reverend.